AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday had their second studio show, and with the tighter restrictions due to the coronavirus, it was not as interesting as the first one was. Let's get into it. This is All Elite Review. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to today's edition of All Elite Review, where today we're going to be reviewing Dynamite episode number 23, which is the second studio show. A couple of caveats that I noticed for this show. There were no tag team matches this week, and there were no women's division matches this week. And also an anomaly from this show was, something that was missing. There was supposed to be the street fight between the Lucha Brothers and the Best Friends, but that didn't happen. But with the new restrictions that are being put in place by state governments, limiting travel, and all that shit. Basically, AEW has been having to change up plans on the fly. Of course, this week was supposed to be the Blood and Guts week before this whole shit went down. So they basically had to change some things this week. Saw a lot more squash matches this week, and due to the fact that none of the other wrestlers could be out at ringside like they were the previous week, the atmosphere was noticeably flatter, and so was the show, to be honest. I just could not get into this show to save my life. That's just me. But let's go ahead and run through this real quick. So one thing I'm going to be doing is, since they're doing the studio shows right now, just keeping things simple, I'm going to keep things simple for All Elite Review as well. Not doing all the fancy shit that I've been doing the past pretty much the entire time I've had All Elite Review. Just going to keep it just like this, me talking into a camera, none of the fancy shit. I will show the final rating at the end, but other than that, that's pretty much it. So first up, we had number 3 Cody against Jimmy Havoc, who is undefeated in 2020 so far. And as a matter of fact, JR and Excalibur couldn't make it to the show this week. So it was just Tony Schiavone there, and he had Cody and Kenny Omega on guest commentary. Of course, Cody had to start the show out. So highlights of this match: Cody ducks an acid rainmaker into a Cody cutter, which looked really good. Cody hits a tope suicida. Havoc with a Japanese arm drag and a suplex into the corner. Cody hits a back body drop onto the ramp. Then Cody runs through the entrance and then back out and hits a burning lariat. Havoc counters a Cody cutter into a cross arm breaker, which looked really good. Havoc actually hits the acid rainmaker on Cody, but only gets a 2 count. Cody hits his inverted superplex, and then he hits not one but 2 crossroads. Spiked Jimmy Havoc on both of them and gets the 3 count and the victory. I gave this match 2.5 stars out of 5. Afterwards, Shake the Snake Roberts had a video package aimed at Cody, basically saying, why don't you give us a shot, like that sort of thing. And then Cody afterwards was like, Lance Archer will be debuting next week. Of course, it's a day-to-day kind of thing, so we don't know if he is going to debut next week. It'd be pretty cool. But they said it's not going to be against me because he hasn't done jack shit yet. So he has to prove himself first. Which makes sense. The next match was Super Bad Kip Sabian against Darby Allin. Highlights of this match. Darby, of course, hits his sky-high arm drag, which always looks really good. Darby counters the Deathly Hollows when Sabian went for it. Hits the shoulder right stunner for a 2 count. A tope suicida. Kip hit a leaping enziguri and a hanging suplex for a 2 count. And he hits a knee strike and a rolling elbow, which looked really good. But Darby actually doesn't hit his coffin drop this time, but has a new pin finisher he calls the Last Supper, which is basically that figure 4 pinfall cradle pin that he put on Cody, but didn't get the 3 count. But he did get the 3 count here on Sabian. That looked really nice, and Sabian continues to be a bitch. I gave this match 2.75 stars out of 5. The next 2 matches were basically squash matches. Jake Hager, who's now up to number 4 in the rankings because he's undefeated in singles competition, went up against a debuting Chico Adams, enhancement talent, basically. Basically, the highlights were just all Hager. Hager hit a Vader bomb, and then he hit a Uranagi, which is basically the rock bottom, and turns it into the arm triangle choke that he uses in MMA for the ref stoppage victory. It's basically by technical submission, but that seems to be Hager's thing. He hits the Uranagi, the rock bottom, into the arm triangle choke. He's done that the last couple of matches, and it actually looks really good. High impact. And of course, with all squash matches, I gave this 1.5 stars out of 5. Moxley actually comes down to the ring, and him and Hager go at it. Moxley actually hit a paradigm shift, but Hager basically no-sold it after a couple seconds and tried to put Moxley in an ankle lock, but Moxley powered out of it. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen when these two eventually collide. And Moxley basically cuts a promo in the back basically saying, "Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm cleared now, bitch." Paraphrasing, of course. The next match was the debut match for the Exalted One, Brody Lee. And of course, they had a video package of him basically mocking Vince McMahon. A Vince McMahon-esque persona, where he's basically talking to the Beaver Boys. Basically, he was having dinner and shit, eating like a nice-looking steak. It was basically talking to the Beaver Boys like, "We're the Lions of AEW." And then John Silver was gonna, start eating himself, and then Brody was like, "You don't eat until I'm done eating," So he ran him off, and then Alex Reynolds sneezed, and there was a thing that Vince McMahon has where he doesn't like people sneezing, and Brody Lee was basically like, "Are you kidding me? Get out of here! Get out of here!" That sort of thing, which I think is pretty funny. But he was in a match against QT Marshall. For the most part, a squash match. Highlights: Brody, of course, with his big boot. He hit a helo. Amazing for a man. They have a lot of big guys who move like they're cruiserweights. He hits a double suplex. One where he just has a headlock on QT and does the suplex, and then he wraps the arm around and does another suplex. QT tried to fight back with an enziguri. Brody hits a black hole slam though, and then he hits his Sister Abigail startup, and then he hits the discus lariat on QT, which is basically his finisher. Turned QT inside out and got the 3 count and the victory, which, we saw that coming from a mile away. So your winner is Brody Lee. So QT Marshall is 0-3 in singles competition, but him and Dustin Rhodes seem to be functioning well as a tag team. Of course, their tag team is called the Natural Nightmares, and they apparently have a good tag team finisher where Dustin starts out kind of like a Canadian backbreaker position, and then QT runs in and does like a cutter variation. Well, Dustin kind of does like a Dominator-esque bomb, and then QT comes in and hits a cutter, Honestly, with their nickname, I'd call it the Natural Disaster, but that's just me. And then the main event of the show, well, the match main event, so to speak, was the AAA Mega Championship between Sammy Guevara and Kenny Omega. Highlights of this match. The wrestlers in the back were funny as all hell. They had like a trailer back there, and of course people were, putting wagers on the matches and shit. Kenny hit a flying crossbody for a 2 count. I'm going to be completely honest here. This match started out slow as hell. It really did. And you had Sammy Guevara making out with a paper-drawn picture of Randy Rhodes, which looked... he looked like a fucking goober, to be honest, doing that shit. But Guevara hit a back suplex kick for a 2 count. Kenny hits his thrust kick. Kotaro Crusher for a 2 count. Sammy hit a victory roll stomp and then a running shooting star press for a 2 count. He hits a springboard cutter and a sky twister press to the outside. Damn near hurt himself in the process. Kenny with a powerbomb counter. I think Sammy was going for like a Frankensteiner or something, but Kenny counters it with a powerbomb into a V-trigger. Sammy hits a nice standing Spanish fly for a 2 count. Goes for a shooting star press off the top rope but misses. Kenny hits a series of V-triggers. Sammy hits his back roundhouse kick and then inverted GTS, which Kenny no-sold and hit a V-trigger on. He hits the Tiger Driver 98 for a 2 count, and then he hits the One-Winged Angel for the 3 count and the victory. So still, AAA Mega Champion is Kenny Omega. I mean, this match started out slow, but it heated up near the end. So I gave this match 3.5 stars out of 5. And then in the main event time slot, you had Chris Jericho confronting the Broken One, Matt Hardy. And the cameraman actually started singing Judas, and Jericho actually took the camera off and he started videotaping the cameraman singing Judas. That was kind of funny. And then while Jericho was cutting a promo on Hardy, Vanguard 1 comes flying over the ring, and Jericho starts cutting a promo on Vanguard 1. I was just like, what the fuck? And then Matt Hardy himself appears, and I mean, this part is cheesy as fuck, because, I mean, you could tell it's like a bunch of it's basically like stop motion in a way. You had Matt Hardy teleporting all over the place. It looked like stop motion shit. I mean, it's cheesy as all fuck, but it made me laugh. It made me audibly laugh. I was like, that's funny as fuck. And of course Hardy starts doing, his whole spiel. Of course, being inhabited by Damascus or whatever the fuck his name is. Some highlights were the Bucks of Youth, and of course the whole of the ass, which I thought was funny. And after all this, Jericho basically slaps Hardy. And Hardy just basically knocks him down with 1 punch. Guevara attacks Hardy from behind. And then Cody and Omega run down with chairs. And I can hear Jericho all yell, "Oh shit!" He gets hit with chairs, and so did Guevara, and basically got ran off. And then Matt Hardy starts doing the delete stuff, and he causes pyro to fucking shoot out of the stage and shit. And Jericho looked like he was going to legitimately shit himself. So, I mean, call it what you want, but I mean, at least AEW is still trying, I mean, because this whole coronavirus shit has really put them in a really shitty situation, but they're still trying to make the best out of a bad situation, and they're still getting a lot of viewership. I mean, this week's was only about a little over 800,000, which is a little bit of a surprise, but I mean, they're still getting that 800,000 to 900,000 range, and NXT, they had a show this week that actually had some wrestling on it, but still only did about 669,000. So, I mean, they did go up a little bit this week in comparison to last week, but it still wasn't enough to overhaul AEW once again. So, but I mean, honestly, this show was, I mean, my energy levels were just not there for this week. I mean, the matches were just kind of a couple of squash matches. They still tried to push some stuff forward. I mean, the best match obviously was Guevara and Omega, but I really felt like they didn't get everything they could have gotten out of that match. You know, because as talented as both those guys are, I mean, they should have been able to pull out a 5-star match easy, and it just didn't really feel like one this week. But I have a feeling that this won't be the last time those two face off in the ring. So my final rating for this show, it was kind of a middle of the road show. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. You know, nothing too spectacular this week. Hey, look at that. It looks like I'm going to actually get a fucking All Elite Review show uploaded on the day it's supposed to, on a Saturday, for once. You know, I've been really procrastinating with All Elite Review, admittedly, but I decided, you know what, let's get this done and over with. And since I'm abbreviating the reviews a little bit, should be able to get done a lot faster. And according to my timer here, I'm just under 15 minutes, so I'd say that's a good time. But that'll do it for this week. Unfortunately, studio shows are going to be the thing for the next month or two, which is going to push Blood and Guts off for I think another month or two at the very least, which kind of sucks. But can't wait for that match to take place because it's going to be a barn burner to say the least. I think that's an easy 5-star match once it happens. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. Bye. You better like and subscribe or face the consequences. You have been warned.